So congrats on your book. It just came out on Tuesday. So first I want to give you the floor to lay out your thesis and what you hope your book brings to the larger discussion at hand.
So I argue that in the same way that a bunch of animals could be parasitized by actual brainworms, losing their ability to behave in an adaptive way. Think about Toxoplasma gondii is a parasite that afflicts mice, so that when they're infected with this parasite, they lose their innate fears of cats and they become sexually attracted to the cat's urine, which is not a good preference to hold for a mouse. Well, I argue that human beings suffer from another class of parasites. I call these idea pathogens. And regrettably, as a professor, I'm here to tell you that all of these bad ideas were spawned in the university ecosystem. It takes intellectuals to come up with really dumb ideas.
That's actually something I want to pick your brain on a little bit because it is strange that it comes from these intellectuals, people who are so smart in all these different areas, and yet they don't have the wisdom or the street smarts to find their way out of a paper bag, so to speak. So speaking of this, a lot of them are pushing ideas such as critical race theory, socialism, communism, ideas that have been tried before and have failed. And however they're pushing them again, it's almost as if they think they can make reality bend to their will instead of accepting reality as it is and then adopting to that.
Yeah, so I think all of these idea pathogens start off with a noble cause. But in the pursuit of that noble cause, they destroy and murder truth. And the reality is that I should be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. I should be able to support, laudable causes without ceding an inch of reality, common sense, logic, science. And unfortunately, in the most cases of these idea pathogens, they're unable to do that.
And so I know your background is you're an evolutionary psychologist, behavioralist, and so when you look out on the streets that we see right now, a lot of these kids who go to college, they get radicalized, a lot of them, and now we see them out on the streets burning down their communities. They say they're fighting for human rights, yet what's the first thing they do? They go out and terrorize other innocents in their own communities, whether that be stores, homes, whatever it may be. So when we live in this prosperous era, it seems like humanity, we've been building to this point to get us to such a comfortable place. And now we see it almost seems to be our own youth are dismantling what millennia of human ingenuity has created.
Well, and it's particularly galling for someone like me because some of your viewers may not know my personal history. My family, we're Lebanese Jews who escaped the brutality of the Lebanese Civil War because we were Jewish. So we experienced the really brutal nature of identity politics. So critical race theory, if you'd like, is a milder version of what happens when a whole society organizes itself according to identity politics. So for someone like me who lived in the West for 40 plus years to now seeing us adopt many of the ideas that I escaped from, it's disheartening.
And so speaking to that, you're from Lebanon, you escaped execution, I believe, coming here to the West now, and now you see the West almost destroying itself in a sense, taking almost like a suicide. The West doesn't even believe in itself, in its own, the human rights that it's advanced for so many centuries now. It seems like they don't even believe in themselves anymore. Do you fear that the West could fall in a sense, or do you have any fears there? Because it seems like there's no more refuge elsewhere in the world. Where else would we go?
Exactly. Well, my wife and I have joked that, where do we go to next? Argentina, China, where do we go, right? Look, the West right now is engaging in an orgiastic self-flagellation at the altar of progressivism, right? In the old days, you used to self-flagellate to demonstrate your religious piety, right? So Catholics used to have flagellants who did that, right? Well, now what we see, if I want to demonstrate that I'm truly progressive, then I engage in this grotesque self-flagellation. I repudiate all of the values of the West. And again, it is terribly disheartening for someone like me and millions of immigrants who come here precisely because we know all of the societies that are around the corner, and yet Westerners don't appreciate what we have. So I am worried. I think that the demise of the West would take a long time. It's not going to come tomorrow, but keep this trend going for another 50, 100, 200 years, and then we'll have a very different society.